Alaska road trippers. I'd like to report in so far on the road trip. I got so busy with the road trip that I didn't keep up on all the video logs. Kind of had some weather up on the north side when we got started. It was raining and then it was dark at night because I traveled through the night to get through some construction zones there on Alaska. Didn't want to be held up because they had flagging stations like from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Every day, so it was easier just to roll through at night, avoid the flaggers and avoid the construction zone lag with a bunch of RVs too, because RVs, they're trying to do their best to get through, but you know, all the dishes and plateware and the cups are flowing anywhere and cabinets are opening up, so they're trying to get through a kind of rough zone there, so it's much easier to try to avoid that. And so I was able to do that, get into my road trip mode, and really the north end there is kind of familiar to me. That's my home area. So if it's within 300 miles of my house, that, you know, I go through there often, or I can always go back. But that's the beginning part of the trip. So I drove out of Fairbanks to the US border, to the Canadian border, down through Canada, Watson Lake, Muncho Lake. I've got a lot more sunshine now, got some better weather, so I figured I'd try to do some recording. First day or so there, I got 900 miles covered to get down to Watson Lake, about 850 miles. And then over here in Canada, everything's in kilometers, so you always have to cover it back and forth. So about 850 the first day. Okay, so I packed the car, we got going. Some people along the way have been a little surprised that I'm out road tripping a Jaguar, but it drives so nice, and it really handles the bumps, handles the loads really well. It's amazing how well the suspension is firm when it needs to be firm and soft when it needs to be soft, and it just drives really well, especially for being a 40-year-old car. Pretty anxious on my road trip. I packed a lot, probably more than I probably needed, but I'd rather be prepared with tools, spare parts, if I need to, because the car is 40 years old. And I don't know where I'm going to have problems with this. Might be out in Dakotas somewhere, or you just never know. So I somewhat prepared for that. I kind of haphazardly put some stuff in the back seat just so I have it down in Ohio for when I come back for other trips. So that's pretty much what I did there to get going and get out of town. Okay, if you're road tripping through Canada, try to plan on getting up early and get moving early, because whether you get up or not, the other travelers are going to get up and make a bunch of noise, running the shower, banging doors, and if it's not them, then it's the housekeepers coming through cleaning up after them. So you're not going to get any sleep anyway. So plan on getting up early and getting moving, because you want to get down to your next community, because they all close up about 8, 9 o'clock at night. So you're not going to be getting anything past that. Reporting out here from the ALCAN Highway, about mile 570. Jag's ready for a bath, been through a few construction zones, but still running good. Great weather, great views. Jag's running great. Out here on the ALCAN Highway, probably about mile 570. Great section of road, great right-of-ways. We're really enjoying it. So thought I'd share a little bit with you. Okay, so the first day was a long day because I had rain and weather up there in Alaska and Fairbanks. I couldn't really get much of the footage because it was dark and it was rainy, but I figured I'd get through the construction zones and get past the RVs because they're all sleeping. So that way I can get down into Canada. Pretty anxious to get going on my road trip. Okay, so then I rolled down from Watson Lake and I go heading down the ALCAN Highway, and they got this new section that is nice, cut right away. I mean, cut way back, right, so you can see really well. Nice slopes on the hills, where a lot of times in Alaska, due to cost, sometimes we make them pretty steep. And then a few years in, it looks nice the first few years and then it sloughs off. This is all nice, groomed, and a lot of greenery growing there, but then the trees are cut way back. So even if a tree falls, it's not on the road. And then, but you can also see the animals. When the wildlife come out, you have a more chance to see them before they hit the roadway. And so that was really nice to see. Nice engineering, sloping, gradual curves back and forth, nice rolling hills for the slopes. And so it keeps you very engaged as a driver. And especially when the corners, the supers and stuff are right, it's just nice because your car just lays into the corner and you start to accelerate a little bit and it carries you around the corner. You know it when you see it, and it just is so nice to see. We need to encourage that type of engineering because the road's going to be there for, you know, a good 70, 100 years or more. That's really nice, thanks to the engineers that designed that, because sometimes they just punch in a road and sometimes they make it flat because of our slippery areas so people don't slide off the road. But it's also nice to be able to enjoy the drive. So I wanted to say thank you. So if you want a nice drive east of Watson Lake, as you're heading towards Muncho Lake, it's very nice drive in my opinion. Nice scenic views. It's nice when they give you these vistas that cut some trees out or punch a little area out so you can kind of see across the valleys and then go back into your hillside run. It's very enjoyable. The ALCAN has gone through many changes since it was punched in for the military. When it's put in for the military, it was like, we just need some path. We needed to get there. But then it's also military, so they make it real curvy so it can't be hit by a strafing run from planes, if they should show up over here. But anyway, so over the many decades, it's been straightened out. It's been realigned. They've taken different slopes or different engineering paths. Just a great job. It's nice to see the culverts too. My dad used to calculate culvert size for runoff, and then same for guardrails and stuff too. So there's a lot of engineering that goes in that the public may not see, the public may not appreciate. But the reason you appreciate the engineering is because you don't hear anything. It keeps working. The only time you folks hear it is when something's in the news, something washes out, or like here on the ALCAN in 2022, a beaver dam gave way. It came and washed out like a 150-foot section of road. Well, there's no way around unless you go like 1,500 miles to go all the way around. So that's a lot more to add to your trip. So that's some of the stories. Okay, the traffic has gone by again. The whole couple cars of all day come by whenever I run the camera. So I like Fast Eddies. Try them out if you're in the area, or if you're within 100 miles. I recommend it. So I didn't get Fast Eddies this time. I didn't feel like waiting another 2.5 hours or so for them to open up just to get breakfast, because I really like their lunch and dinner. I probably like their breakfast too, but time to move on. So 100 miles to Delta, 100 miles to Tok, roughly, then plus or minus, and another 90 miles to the U.S. border. So get over to the U.S. border, and then you roll on to Canadian Customs. But it worked out perfect because I was going to be at Canadian Customs right during sunrise, during daylight. So that was pretty good. However, just west of Northway on the ALCAN Highway and all the way through Northway and over to the Canadian border, it just gets rough. Big potholes, big bumps. There's a couple miles in there where they built a new section of road, but all the other ones are pretty well tore up. Okay, semi had to come by. So back to my story. Basically, there's a lot of potholes over there. They're trying to patch them, but it's pretty insurmountable. I mean, there's holes the size of manhole covers or even like a wheelbarrow. That's how big some of these potholes are. So you're trying to weave around it, and then you get some frost heaves. So the real tough part is it's rough on the RVs, it's rough on people hauling trailers. People get impatient. So if anybody's traveling in that area from Beaver Creek on the Canadian side to about Lakeview, which is the DOT side, which is really just right near Northway. So Northway to Beaver Creek is pretty no man's land. So take it slow, try to double your travel time expectations there, and you won't have as many problems. Problem is, it just starts getting smooth enough, you speed up, and then all of a sudden you get a bunch of potholes again. I mean, we're talking, it looks like, I don't know, a war zone. Probably a war zone road would have less holes than this. So anyway, so be prepared, went over by the border. This is a vehicle going by Muncho Lake. I then decided to drive through the night and head out down to Fort Nelson. So here I'm driving at night, trying to take some caution. Really nice signs along the way, but try and take caution for wildlife because you never know when they're active. I've even had a moose out in Alaska at 2 in the morning. Came out, I went to dodge them, I avoided them, but then they started to ring the front bumper with their hooves. So here's a pull-off along the route before Fort Nelson. Really nice pull-off. Nice lighting, rest area. Get out and stretch your legs. And what was amazing as I pulled through this pull-off is on the right-hand side, there appear to be some electric charge stations. It's pretty handy because you have electricity right there nearby, but I'm amazed how electric cars can do it. There's some major distances there, so maybe there's just for between a couple of the communities there, but a couple charging stations there on the right. Really nice bright lighting. This would be handy, especially through the winter months. A few people resting. I took a little bit of a break, and then I headed back out on the road, heading for Fort Nelson. Evening was nice. It was kind of a almost full moon. And this here, pulling in towards Fort Nelson, you can see the city glow on the atmosphere there. So you know you're coming into a substantial sized city when you have that much light emittance from the city itself. And actually I found the city to have quite a few lights as well, so it was pretty nice. So here we're rolling into the edge of town. There's some industry facilities here nearby. But the Jags lighten up the road pretty good with the 4 beams headlight. I think I had some semis coming up here. A lot of Canadian doubles in the area. There's a couple doubles and 1 single in this clip. But I just grabbed some of these clips from my dash cam just to try to give a little perspective. It's what I see out there on the road, but I really like the road, nice shoulder, nice lights. Here, I've pulled into Fort Nelson, lots of lights in the parking lot. This here is McDonald's. So I was pulling in, taking a little break, and then I happened to use Wi-Fi as well. I grabbed some breakfast and I'm on down the road. So we'll be seeing you on the road.